Well, I'm personally very happy to be able to talk about something fun. Fun nonstop. Nonstop celebration of fun storytelling stuff. Let's go. This is the one where I try to explain and talk about something related to Michael Moorcock in 12 minutes or less, because that's 12 minutes, because that's the amount of time, that's like the video length that I want to watch. Right. And also that's the amount of time I have the patience to upload. So who is Michael Moorcock? Let's get into it, and then we're gonna read the pictures. I famously can't read. I'm up to the letter J, but I read the pictures really good, and I want to talk about decoding pictures and decoding sequential art so that the meaning and rhythm of stories can be understood. This is the Dungeons and Dragons Deities and Demigods Cyclopedia. It's probably from 1982 or something like that. This was my uncle's, and in it are the Melnibonean mythos that Michael Moorcock created around Elric, Stormbringer, elemental gods and giants, and oh, all the rest. So as soon as Elric debuted, it was impactful enough to sort of be a foundational text in this. What is Michael Moorcock best known for? That's Elric. We're not here to talk about Elric, but here's some Elric. Here's some fancy Elric Stormbringer. Here's this guy from the 80s. Like Gerald Brom, me too. That's a good collection. What else? Who else is good for the cursed albino emperor of the dark elf people of Melniboné? It's Elric. This is P. Craig Russell doing some. It's very fanciful in like 70s. And even though Moorcock's like, yeah, we did Elric and Melniboné and these dark elves like to be the anti-Tolkien, it's still like kind of jolly. Here's the newer interpretation. Definitely more emphasis on the dark elf cannibal blood ritual stuff in this one. Super cool. That's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the multiverse. This is Michael Moorcock's Blood. It is a 1990 novel that is sort of like a Rosetta Stone for Moorcock's Multiverse, because Elric, we just discussed, is only one character in a multiverse of many characters, many different carnations of the Eternal Champion. Hawkmoon is another one. There's Elric. There's Corum, and these are characters who sort of reflect one another in this like cosmic net of cosmic jewels, and they are all different carnations of an Eternal Champion that fights to bring balance between law and chaos. Great. So that occurs in like many different novel series of like pulp dark fantasy, and then this is like the Rosetta Stone of how that works. And this is a super fucking weird book. So when I explain this book, I'm explaining this book so that we can read the pictures on this book, right? Because this book contains the setting for this book, but this book doesn't make a lick of sense unless you're really familiar with the setting of this and at least some of how Moorcock's multiverse works, which is like, sort of like I said, like a jewel in which different facets reflect the Eternal Champion and distort it. And sometimes that champion fights for law, and sometimes for chaos, and sometimes Elric appears in our world historically, and sometimes he sort of appears as someone else, as we'll get into. It's super confusing, and it has quite the literary effect. So what is blood? Blood. Oh my god. Let me try to explain blood. I hate this dust jacket. I thought I was getting a different, the cool edition. I got whatever this is. So in Blood, a Southern fantasy, the Rosetta Stone for Michael Moorcock's Multiverse. Jesus Christ. The fabric of reality has torn apart and ruptured in such a way that when it has done so, the result is a new power source called color. And color spots uh, jump like appear in like naturally, and they sort of, it's a very color out of space Lovecraftian bit, and it's an incredible power source, but it also signals like the really big riffs are like reality bending, reality stopping, gaping maws into the multiverse. You can watch different universes die, and the biggest of these gaps is in Biloxi, Mississippi, where the Hugadors play the game of time, and the game of time that the Hugadors play is a game where they peer into the Biloxi fault. And listen, if I'm getting this wrong, correct me in the comments. They peer into the Biloxi fault, and they play different games of chance, and they sort of like, they do role playing where they role play out different scenarios, and it sounds super confusing in text, but when you have a comic book companion, not an adaptation, it will make a lot more sense. So have I explained everything? What else? Yeah, and so everyone's sort of accepting that like reality is faded. There's a lot of weird like world building, like uh racial, like historical power swap stuff going on. I'm not in that is, I think, meant to be more of a reflection of how Moorcock's multiverse works than like than anything else. Obviously it's like a political statement, but it also serves as the metaphysics to sort of give you a sense of like how this thing goes down. So I think that I've explained the Hugadors, the Biloxi fault, and the game that they play that's sort of like a virtual reality role playing across the multiverse where they visit different things. Anything that I'm missing, we'll get into in this. Okay, so I think that's 7 minutes to explore Michael Moorcock's Multiverse. I think we did a very good job. Here's 2 volumes of the book Moorcock's Multiverse, and it is, what is it? It was a 12-issue 1997 series from the DC Comics imprint Helix, and it's structured wonderfully. Walt Simonson does a third. Mark Reeve does another third. I don't know Mark Reeve, UK artist, I believe, and John Ridgway, who I discovered as a Hellblazer artist, does another third. So every issue of this was structured exactly that way. This 2-volume series takes the literal sequence of this and rips it apart and puts it back together. But because I'm pretty sure you know that this is structured 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and all the chapters are very neatly numbered, it's actually incredibly simple to see how the resequencing is done. Okay, so let me tell you something. Say something nice. Titan Comics, you get a lot of cool licenses that I enjoy, especially the Michael Moorcock license. I also very much enjoyed your Charlie and Flytrap book by Arthur Soydom. I thought that was a phenomenal collection that had absolutely nominal, if any, production problems. But for some reason, I knew that this series of Moorcock reprints was going to be riddled with production problems because it was all pre-digital, and I know you're going to be shooting off of the actual comics themselves. And as a rule, I generally don't like that because it doesn't really look that good. And looking through this floppy for the first time to actually see what this book looks like with crisp inks, it was like this is the high definition version. This one, I was so hesitant to buy this. I only bought this because I found the deal that I manifested in the universe for this set in one of my internet honey holes or whatever it is. But I was hesitant to dive into the Moorcock collection because I knew that there were going to be production issues. Titan Comics, I say this lovingly. don't have like the first 5 pages of your book like completely out of focus. Looking at these two, this is like wild. But the wildest thing, and I don't have it earmarked or anything because I don't want to embarrass you too much. This will be hearsay. Is that there's a few spots where like someone's eyelash was on the scanner bed. Maybe that's one of the metaphysical wild spots. Anyway, I could fetch all day long. Let's try to read the pictures for a few minutes. I can't read, so I read the pictures. So let's see what the pictures yield in this. Okay, so here's Michael Moorcock talking about, I think he's in Marrakesh. He's talking about where his ideas come from, and he's telling us about the game. For some reason, we're going from Marrakesh to Biloxi, and he's going to tell us about the game of time that the Jugadors play, and one of these Jugadors is, what's this guy's name? Jack Carquazian. He is a multiverse refracted version of a number of Moorcock characters whose initials are JC, Jerry Cornelius, and also as Jack Carquazian. When you look at all the playing card imagery and all the imagery on the fantasy signals, it's all the chaos symbol and straight arrow for law. The chaos symbol that's featured in here that was invented by Moorcock, who's a character in the story. Let's read the pictures. So he tells us that in the Terminal Cafe in the Biloxi Fault, Jack Carquazian plays the Jujitsu or whatever. It's the Zaitjuego. It's time, the game of time, the Zaitjuego. And there's all these like linguistic portmanteau literary bits going on in this book. And Jack is was in love with the Rose. The Rose is a character from an Elric book called Revenge of the Rose that I haven't read. She is also, I guess everyone's an Eternal Champion. I'm an Eternal Champion. She's an Eternal Champion. She's also a fantastic pilot through the ether. And, oh man, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I wish I could tell you. See, this book is so crazy, but I really want to talk about, all these great assignments and layouts. Okay, so this story is in reality, in base reality. This story is inside the Biloxi Fault, and it's the Chaos Navigators. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's the Chaos Navigators that are, when you see this, they're scaling up and down. The trans-multiversal causeways are navigated through scale, which is an idea, like a Mandelbrot multiverse idea, supposedly, as if I know what the hell that means. That reminds me very much of the ending of The Gunslinger, where you sort of scale up and down, and your perception alters depending on. Or how about the ending of Men in Black? When you see this, it's the ending of the movie The Men in Black. Here come the movie Men in Black. All right, so the Chaos Engineers are, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're ramping up. They're watching the Rose flying her thing. The Rose is fighting for either chaos or law. It's hard. This part's impossible. Here's the part where they explain that what all these characters are after is the Holy Grail, which is an artifact that features in a lot of Moorcock stuff. So they want the Holy Grail, and they're going to travel the Moonbeam Roads to get them. Oh, Jesus, I don't know. Here's some other Chaos Engineer characters that I don't know what the F. So the thing with this book is that, as you read it, you're like, all right, 20% of this is intentionally nonsensical. 20% of it I'm not smart enough to understand. But the rest is wildly psychedelically edge of your seat entertaining. Okay, well, I don't know what the hell's going on here. This character, these are all these Chaos Engineer characters that are sort of under the veil of reality. They're sort of fighting for the balance of chaos and reality. And this is what the game looks like. When the Zaitjuego is played at the Terminal Cafe, these are the players. Here's Jack Carquazian and the universe churning up out of it. And this character is Paul Minct. I don't know how to spell his name. Minct. It's such a you feel greasy just saying his name. And Simonson doesn't try to draw his mask as it's described in blood, but it is, yes, I think he's heavily scarred under this beaded veil, but the top part is a map of the United States out of like aluminum cans, different like, a Coke can and a Campbell soup and all this thing. Every state is a different, like, hammered together with, it was such a cool image. I really, really loved it. Okay, that's chapter. Oh, God. That's the first part of this book. We'll go for a few more minutes and then we'll revisit this and see if we can do a little more reading. I love this Moorcock stuff. It's so much fun. So here we are, Moonbeams and Roses. Paul Minct and Michael Moorcock are having the conversation about the Zaitwego that they're playing, which you can see playing out here, right, on this flat plane. There's the Rose and the Chaos Engineers, and there's Duke Elric. It's so crazy. This part I don't understand. This part is a bug ship the size of a universe. The subplot with this was the way that Simonson dealt with it in the layouts really paid off, but trying to explain what this is from memory is not gonna work for me. What a great layout from Walt Simonson. I love it. Oh, I love it. This part, yeah, look at these visual effects to sort of show this multiversal travel. So cool as this space whale like goes through this kaleidoscopic crystal, you know what. These are all the Chaos Engineers. This part is like almost too abstract. The problem with this book is that the entire thing it's 12 issues at a complete breakneck pace, and there's no scene where someone just like, where Michael Moorcock just like leaves the bar and like sits in his hotel room and like tries to write and smokes a cigarette for 5 pages. That's what this book is missing. Like, just to slow down. Yeah, more Chaos Engineers. This is Sam Oakenhurst. He and Carquazian are like the main jugadores, jueguistas, Zaitwegos. This is the scale. This image is placed so heavily in Moorcock's books. Okay, so here's Moorcock and Paul Minct. Paul Minct goes into the Biloxi Fault, this shimmering, like, oil slick rift in the fabric of reality where, you can sort of traverse the multiverse or like play these, they're gambling on these games of chance with the reality of other people's problems and stuff. That's it. Well, I covered about 20 pages of the book I wanted to talk about by covering the pictures. But the good news is, there's always more, my friends. Thank you so much. Good day.